What is up? Welcome to another week of Let's Talk Football, sis guys. We are so excited to dive in. Week 1 of the playoffs, done and dusted, baby. And now we are quickly, hopefully, moving into officially semifinals of fantasy football. We've got 2 weeks left of fantasy football. Where the fuck did time go?
So fast. It happens like that every year. And it just... I can't believe that we're already at Christmas. Christmas is next week, which is insane. Yes. Football's almost over. And then, just the time goes so fast. So fast.
Time freaking flies. And we're moving into another exciting week where it's win or go the fuck home, my friends. So we're going to help you make educated decisions and make sure you get your asses into that championship game the best that you can. I know, I saw, and you locked up both wins in the first round, baby. Hell yeah.
And I want to just personally extend my gratitude toward the Pity Pits himself.
Pity Pits.
Because I trusted that man. People didn't. People benched him. He's probably one of the biggest bench burners this week. And I was like, I feel it. I'm feeling the Pity Pits fire. So we talk about every week that we don't stay up for those late games. We're on the East Coast. That's way too late, whatever. So I got up in the morning. I'm like, I'll check what the scores were. I like that noise.
Whatever that noise
is. And
I
told my husband, I'm like, Caleb, guess how many points Kyle Pitts has? He's like, I don't know, 10? And I was like, 45. It was 45. Insane. It was insane.
That is just absolutely nuts. Yeah, such a good week.
My other league, so this is my first year playing in 2 leagues. So overwhelmed a little bit by it because I'm trying to move. I did not fully realize that I have Chris Rodriguez in 2 leagues.
Well,
had no
clue.
They
ruled him out so last minute too. Egregiously last minute.
Yes. And my mom and I are just making kolache. If you're Polish and you know what kolache is, shout out to you, girl. But I'm like, why does it say inactive player starting? I'm like, I know he's on my bench. Nope, wasn't on my bench. But the whole time I'm clenching like, oh God, please still win. And my husband's like, that's a rookie mistake, Ange. In the playoffs, you didn't bench a guy and he's out. I'm like, dude, it all worked out. It's all good.
It all worked out. I looked at it too, and I was like, she's going to win, and she fully forgot to take Chris Rodriguez out of her lineup, which, I mean, good for you, man, because that's like a huge W, because you're like, all right, I was looking at your roster, though. You didn't have many other options, so I was like, maybe she just was like, you know what, I have no other options, and I'm projected to win. I'm just going to fly with it.
It got to that point, and I knew if he played, it was going to be a great game for him.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't even think, let me go look for somebody else, because the week previously, he was questionable, but he still played and everything was good. Anyway, so.
Yeah, there was a lot of last minute rule outs like him and
Roma Dunze.
Roma Dunze,
like
he got hurt in
warm
up. Yeah, I was like, oh no. I will say that's something that I didn't do when I first got started in fantasy is check shit last minute, but 30 minutes before game time, they do put something on the NFL Network where they'll run through right before kickoff, active inactives. That way you can stay caught up. It's definitely a do it situation because my gosh, I get busy on a Sunday and before you know it, it's 1 o'clock and I haven't double checked since the morning and you're like, motherfucker. That guy was, or Jaylen Warren almost got ruled out before the Monday night game for a sickness. And I'm like, how devastating would it have been for someone if they just weren't checking and he had no previous injury issues at all and then he got sick and couldn't play? That's crazy.
Yeah. Especially playoffs burn ya. No, not good, but
I know it. All right.
How about you? What's your playoff look like?
I had 2 playoff buys in the girls league and then I had a playoff bye in the league I'm in with my husband. I was fully prepared to lose in Superflex and alas, I did. I was like, there is no way. My team, mind you, I had Trevor Lawrence who scored 44 fantasy points as the quarterback and I lost. That's how bad my team is.
That's crazy. You do have some questions.
I had Devin Singletary. He scored 2 points. It was just, there was no coming. And then I played against her and her team went off. Every time I watched and my team scored a tutty and I had BTJ who ended up getting 17. I'm in the living room freaking, well, she had Jacoby Myers and Saquon Barkley would score. And then I was like, motherfucker. Of course that happened, but it's all right. I was almost if this tape and glue team would have made it to the semifinals, it would have been just mean. Because I would have gotten my ass kicked week 2.
Yeah.
The best team did a last move on.
Because this week I play my best friend in our girls league and I could potentially beat her. Hopefully I beat her. And then I could play you in the championship if you
win. My team is struggling though. Oh, all right. That is fantasy football, though. Hopefully, you guys are also winning some of your leagues. Let's go into play of the week. Ange, what was your play of the week?
My play of the week, DJ Moore's end zone catch against the Cleveland Browns. Like, I had to literally rewind the game, which I don't really do often, especially the Browns, because who wants to watch that? But I didn't even see it go in his hands. And then it just like appeared. And then it was like, how did he make that catch? And I mean, we've seen him kind of getting a little bit on fire here after kind of a slow start. It was really cool. It was like he teleported the ball into his hands. And then the Browns were like, oh, crap, here we go again. My husband even said that was like such a Browns thing that happened. Like,
that's what all Browns fans say, though.
They do. That's pretty much every other word out of his mouth is, ugh, it's the Browns.
Only to the Browns. I'm like, only the Browns just suck. I don't know.
Yeah. What was yours?
Well, mine was TreVeyon Henderson's amazing run for a touchdown. And he like literally ran into a whole full-blown pack of men, said, oops, can't go that way, cut in the other way. And then Drake May ran up right alongside in front of him and provided blocking to be able to get TreVeyon into the end zone. I was like, there's no better way to know that your quarterback will ride or die for you than what Drake May just did. In that moment, I was like, that's a quarterback that means business, because he was riding for, he didn't have to do that. He should never put his body in harm, right? Mm-hmm. Ideally. But he was like, no, we're getting in the end zone. We're scoring that. They were playing the Bills. Now they did end up losing, but I mean, they put up a freaking fight. That's for sure. And
that was a good game, for sure.
They're showing business for sure.
They are.
All right. Who's taking home your vet of the week? I think we might already know.
Everybody. These two that we have, they have to be your vets of the week, because Kyle Pitts, I mean, he was smelling good. His pits were fresh. They were like evergreen trees for the Christmas season, but he dropped 45.6 points. You know, one of the best fantasy football performances, top 5 against a tight end in the current era. It's like one of the highest. I mean, I looked up stats earlier and it goes back all the way to like 1981, which like, I didn't even know fantasy football was that old until I really started getting into it. I was like, oh, like this is really like legit. Like people have been really doing this for a while. But Kyle Pitts, thank you, buddy. Thank you to all the Pitts lovers out there.
All the Pitts lovers. Well, same for me. My vet of the week was Trevor Lawrence. He was just a stud. Week 15. He had 44 fantasy. Blowing in the wind. Passing to his running back. Passing in the, it was epic to see. Put up a ton of touchdowns. I think he ended up having 5 touchdowns. 4 or 5, something like 5. And just looking like an absolute boss in the playoffs, which a lot of people, you know, there was a lot of not favorable quarterback matchups in week 15. So if you needed to take a shot on someone like Trevor Lawrence, it paid off. It paid off well if you did.
Paid off big.
Well, who's your rookie of the week?
Rookie of the week, kind of just to hit on what you already said, it was TreVeyon Henderson. Just another big ass game. Yes, Daddy Vrabel. We love Daddy Vrabel's
he's putting him in, man.
Him. He's putting him in. He's doing the work. He's just, I frequently forget that he's a rookie. Forget. I mean,
absolutely.
Dominant.
Absolutely. 100%. Well, my rookie of the week was actually the rookie that came in for Woody Marks after he got hurt and could not enter the game. Jahar Jordan. He rushed for 101 yards in his NFL debut, which is absolutely insane. It's very rare for a rookie to come in and have a 100-yard rushing game, which for all the Woody Marks managers out there, it makes you sad because the fantasy production would have been insane for Woody Marks if he just could have stayed healthy. I know my husband is the Woody Marks manager, and instantly his mood took an incredibly awkward turn.
Did he have to go to the simulator? That's usually where he goes.
Oh, he had to like walk around. He gave football a minute. He had to like remove himself from the football screen. I was like, you do you, boo. You do you. I like fully expected to lose my league. So like I was not emotionally attached. And he just made some unfortunate decisions and ended up losing, which we haven't talked about that yet today because I don't want to know how he feels about it.
Oh, no.
But that is my rookie of the week because how badass to come in and absolutely rock it out. We're going to move into our games, sits, starts, all the things. We've got every single team playing because we know there are no more buys. So we're going to go ahead and kick it off. And I'm going to start with our Thursday night matchup.
Thing to note before we get started, there are Saturday games this week. So keep that on your radar. There are 2 Saturday games too. Their Bears play on Saturday. This week, 100%.
The week before
that's what my husband was debating with me. It said, no, that's college football. They won't play it during college football. It is this week, 100%.
Huh. That's super weird.
Chicago. Yeah. I forget what the other team is. It's on our list here.
Eagles, Commanders.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Now they play,
I'm gonna give Amanda a pass because she almost died.
I did have
she was
to
really
make
down and out with some oyster problems.
Diva down. I had to make an ER trip yesterday. And it's been very unfortunate for Amanda the past few days. I told Ange that I had so many GI issues. I lost 5 pounds this past week because I just can't keep any food down. And Diva down. We're hopefully figuring out why she's down, but who knows?
She was almost going to make other Diva go solo today. And
Ange was supposed to go solo, but the ER hit me with some pain meds and some heavy antibiotics, and she's feeling enough to get through.
We're rocking it out.
We love you so much. I'm going to rock through an episode here. All right. Well, I'm going to kick it off with Thursday night. We're going to talk Rams versus Seattle. So Rams, easy must starts here. Puka, Kyren Williams, and Matt Stafford. We know Devontae Adams did go down with a hamstring injury in week 15. You're likely not going to see him unless for some fluke of a reason it was more minor than what we witnessed on the field. I'm going to say that's a hard no, though. Every team member was surrounding him. It looks like that's going to be a little bit more serious. So sending good vibes over to Devontae Adams. We're going to miss that Stafford-Adams connection, especially if you're in the playoffs. That's a hard time to see your player go down.
It's rough.
It's rough. Other people to consider here. I'm not going to really consider Blake Corum a start. He's like a low-level flex, desperate flex option. He's never going to goose egg you altogether. They do utilize him a lot more on the offense, even more than like a Tyler Algier. They utilize him more consistently in that offensive scheme. He is also a very similar player to Blake or to Kyren Williams, so they can be really used more interchangeably. Usually they have one guy who's like that really tough runner and then more of a skill runner. Kyren and Blake Corum are really very similar style running backs, so they use them interchangeably. Am I eager to start Blake Corum? No, because you're never going to guess when he has that big double touchdown game. But if you need an option, he's there. More of like that really low level flex. I would start, Stevenson over Corum, maybe Corum over Monangai this week with a particularly difficult matchup. Just some things to consider there. Colby motherfucking Parkinson. Colby Jack Cheese himself kind of showed up and made himself a very relevant tight end. It had a very good production week. So 5 for 7 for his reception, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns, 24 fantasy points. With Adams going down, I think this is a tight end to keep your eye on. Really great streaming tight end that I would start ahead of guys like Ferguson this week. Definitely ahead of AJ Barner, Mark Andrews, Brenton Strange. I would sit Parkinson over like Waller, Pitts, Goddard. But Parkinson's in the running to give you a good production this week with a favorable matchup here against Seattle. Moving to Seattle, the only must start here is JSN himself. Anyone else you're probably going to have more conversation about. Sam Darnold, it's a tough matchup. I don't feel confident in this as a start at all by any means. I would sit him. I would look at guys like Baker. I would look at a risky Tua Tagovailoa over Sam Darnold, in my opinion. I would go Jackson Dart, JJ, even Herbert, all ahead of Darnold this week. The running back situation. I'm going to sit Sharps completely. Unless you really think Sharps is going to be able to score a touchdown on the goal line. I think Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet are sits, in my opinion. I'm going to start guys like Michael Carter. If JCM is alone in the backfield and Chris Rodriguez doesn't play, I'm going to start JCM. If Chris Rodriguez plays, I'm going to start Chris Rodriguez. Either of those guys. I would even start like Genty in a terrible matchup ahead of Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. This is a bad matchup for them, and they just haven't been productive. I'm going to sit AJ Barner altogether. The Seahawks defense aren't an auto sit for me. They've been good. I don't really love them against the Rams matchup who puts up a ton of points. So I'm going to say low level, maybe streaming option, but probably a sit.
All right, moving into apparently a surprise for Amanda, Saturday game. Well, Amanda's like, bonus football.
I was like, hold on, Saturday football, baby.
My favorite football is Saturday football.
They start earlier.
Yes. And I'm very admittedly not a huge college football fan. Like I watch Ohio State. I'm an Ohio State fan, but I would much rather watch NFL football. But my first matchup is Green Bay versus Chicago. The only guy you're really thinking about must starting on the Green Bay side is Josh Jacobs. I mean, not only is he a great runner, he can catch some passes. He's just a stud. So starting him. Other guys to kind of talk about would be Jordan Love. I think he's a good streaming option this week. Consider him above guys like Jackson Dart, who has a tough matchup. Even JJ McCarthy, who has a good matchup, but Jordan Love's a little bit more consistent, a little bit more seasoned. Caleb Williams, Baker Mayfield. You're playing Jordan Love over most of those guys. The only guy I personally would play over Jordan Love would be a Jacoby Brissett, just because every week Jacoby Brissett has just been on it. And I think he has a more reliable pass catcher in, let's say, Michael Carter if Marvin Harrison isn't back. I like Jacoby Brissett better. When it comes to wide receivers, there's just like a grab bag of wide receivers. We saw Christian Watson go out. Most likely will be out for week number 16 with that chest injury. They're not going to force him back in. That, for me, makes Jayden Reed the best option next up. I would start Jayden Reed this week over Egbuka, Deebo Samuel, Khalil Shakir. I think he has a much better matchup. He's going to be the guy that they're looking for, a lot bigger upside. So I'm going to sit Dobbs. I'm going to sit Wicks this week for the Green Bay Packers. I'm definitely going to sit Luke Musgrave. I mean, just really nothing special there for tight ends. You have a lot of tight ends to pick from. Probably don't even have them rostered. You're going to start the Green Bay Packers against the Chicago Bears, the defense. On the Chicago side, again, only guy I'm really confident in starting is a running back, and this is DeAndre Swift. Yes, this is a tougher matchup for the running back, but Swift is again just a really dominant force. He's going to be the guy in the backfield that they're going to trust. You're going to sit Caleb Williams. The only guys I would maybe start Caleb Williams over would be Baker Mayfield. This is a tough matchup. He's still a little bit injured. Jackson Dart. I would go with this deep cut. I might take a flyer for a Tyler Shuck this week over a Caleb Williams. He's really shown some great things in a really plethora of rookie quarterbacks this year who we didn't know what was going to happen. Tyler Shuck is, in my opinion, one of the most surprising that I've seen. And let's see, wide receivers again. This is another grab bag situation. The only guy I'm trusting is DJ Moore as a start this week. I'm going to sit Burden. I'm going to sit Adunze even if he is back from injury. Don't like them here. I'm going to sit Kyle Monangai. Really tough matchup. I would go with either JCM or Rodriguez if Rodriguez is back over him. I'd even trust Kareem Hunt more so in this matchup. And then Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet, both sits for me. Green Bay's tighter on the tight end position. I'd rather go Gadsden or Juwan Johnson this week. And I'm going to sit the Chicago defense.
Awesome. Next up, apparently a Saturday game for me. Philadelphia Eagles
Saturday
versus Washington Commanders. So we'll start with Philadelphia. You're basically starting their whole team. So Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, and Goddard are all must starts for the week. You don't have to question much
Goddard
of that
curse gets me every week.
You know what?
I'm like, don't start him. We told people not to start him, but then I said,
you know what? He played well.
I did caveat. If I say don't start him, that probably means start him. So hopefully you reverse psychology.
Just start him. I don't know.
Just start him. He's better.
I don't know who to trust anymore. He's a top tier. He's like up there in like top 5, 6 tight ends on the year so far. Yeah. So nonetheless, I'm going to go for it. So you're just going to start that entire team. My opinion, also the Eagles defense, you can go ahead and fire up the Eagles defense as well. I think that's a good matchup for them. On the Washington side of the football, I do think a running back is a must start this week. It's just which running back. JCM, Chris Rodriguez, which thought Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt would come back into the picture this late in the year, but he's
Christmas
back.
Miracle.
It's a Christmas miracle. We're talking about JCM again. But again, I'm really not interested in JCM if Chris Rodriguez does end up playing in week 16. I would preference Rodriguez ahead of JCM. But if Rodriguez is out, we can go ahead and throw him into the lineup for sure. Mariota, to me, it would be a really risky option this week. This is a good Eagles defense. I'm going to say Mariota is a full sit. There's plenty of other options out there. JJ McCarthy, Jackson Dart, Bo Nix, Jordan Love would all come ahead of Marcus Mariota this week. The wide receiver position, I'm definitely going to say Deebo Samuels is a full sit, in my opinion. McLaurin would be the only person that I might do a risky streaming start simply because he is that deep threat wide receiver. So Deebo plays in the slot, so he's not going to get as many deep balls. Terry McLaurin could get one deep pass from Mariota and get in the end zone. A 40-yard pass and a touchdown is enough to constitute him as a start, right? So if I'm going to take a shot on someone, it's probably going to be Terry McLaurin, but it's not going to be Deebo Samuels, and I really don't want to start either of them. I don't want to worry about the tight end Ben Sennett at all, and the Washington defense is not worth your time either.
No. All right, my first Sunday game, Buffalo versus Cleveland, should be an interesting matchup here. On the Buffalo side, you're starting most guys. You're starting Josh Allen, James Cook. I would even go as far as to say you should start Dalton Kincaid. He's one of those top targets for Allen. Other players here, Khalil Shakir. Yes, Cleveland has been better against wide receivers in the past. I just don't like Shakir this week. I think Allen is targeting those tight ends a little bit more reliable. even relying on James Cook a little bit more in the run game. I'm going to say Khalil Shakir is a sit in most positions. You're going to sit him over, or you're going to sit him over a Jaden Reed, sit him over a DJ Moore. I trust them more. I would start him over, though, like a Luther Burden, a Keenan Allen, a Xavier Worthy, especially with Mahomes being out for the rest of the season. At the tight end position, I already mentioned Dalton Kincaid. I'd say you're sitting Dawson Knox. Yes, he had an uptick in targets. I don't think that's going to be a trend. I think Kincaid's going to be back in as that main guy. And then the defense, I think, is a good streaming option this week with a poor offense for the Browns. So if you can pick them up and that might help you win the week for week number 2, do it. On the Cleveland side, oh boy. There's really no Cleveland poo-poo Browns that I want to start. I almost have to just say Quinshon Judkins, even though he really hasn't been as productive as we'd like, simply really because Buffalo is one of the worst against the run. So he should have a shining moment here. You're sitting
also,
Shedeur
all
Sanders.
The other running backs for Cleveland are hurt. Like every single one of them are hurt. So like it's just Judkins and Judkins alone.
Right. Because if like let's say Sampson was available, I probably would lean toward him just a teeny tad bit more. He's more of a pass catching receiver or running back, maybe a little bit, but they're out. So this pushes Judkins into that really clear role. You're sitting Shedeur Sanders. Ugh, I saw you dropped him and picked up Mariota, and I was like, whoo, good thing you did that.
Best decision ever.
That spicy start was making you a little sick.
And then made my stomach hurt.
So much hurt. I'm sitting Jerry Jeudy. I'm sitting Isaiah Bond. They're just not productive at all against Buffalo. Not great. The only guy I'm thinking about starting would be tight end Harold Fannin. Yes, Buffalo's hard against the tight end position, but Fannin's the only guy who is moving the ball on the offense. Now, my only downside is Sanders is looking for Fannin, and the defense knows it. So they're exploiting it a little bit. Maybe they'll change up that scheme a little bit and kind of figure things out just a tiny bit more. But Fannin is a good streaming option this week. I don't like the Cleveland Browns defense. I'm actually going to think myself about getting rid of them because they just haven't been reliable. I'd rather go for, especially in playoffs, some team that has a really stellar matchup who I know is going to get me the points I need for the week. So something to think about.
Awesome. All right. Chargers versus Dallas, my first Sunday game of the week here. We'll start with the Chargers first and foremost. So there's a couple must starts. Hampton, I think Hampton and honestly, if at all, both of them could be must starts this week. This is a weak Dallas defense. They're not doing anything spectacular right now. And they are still, Vidal still saw 64% of the work and Hampton, well, a little bit less than. So 60-40, it was about a 60-40 split. So Vidal saw about 60%, Hampton saw about 40%. So they are still ramping Hampton up into that full working back load, which is to be expected coming off that injury. They want to play cautious. So I think both of them are interesting players that you could start. Would I preference Hampton over Vidal simply for that pass catching ability of Hampton? Abso-freaking-lutely. But I would say that both of them could be starts in your lineup this week. The only wide receiver I'm going to consider is Ladd. I know it's awkward coming off a week where he really didn't do much of anything. We also did slightly anticipate that. I know. We did anticipate a harder week because it was a difficult week for them last week. Nonetheless, I'm still going to throw Ladd in my lineup. Trust the plot of the story and thank yourself for that later because it should be a really good matchup against a weak Dallas offense or Dallas defense. When I look at Justin Herbert, do I think he's a full sit? No, this is a really good matchup for him. It favors the quarterback a ton. Herbert's O-line is absolutely abysmal, and he actively has a broken and casted situation on his hand. Homie is hurt and injured. He's not an auto sit. I am going to start him over Mariota, T-Law, Williams, Bryce Young. I would sit Herbert and play Bo Nix, Jordan Love, Goff, and Brissett this week. So it really just depends on who you have on your lineup. But if you were the Mahomes manager and the Herbert manager and you lost Mahomes and you don't have another quarterback you can go after, I think Herbert is a fine start this week. I'm sitting Keenan Allen. Obviously, Quentin Johnston was ruled out fairly late, which that was interesting for me, but we got to watch his injury status. I'm not interested in starting him anyways. Both of them are full sits. Gadsden's production has just been dropped tremendously. And so he's much harder tight end to trust. Would I still start Gadsden ahead of like AJ Barner, Mark Andrews, Hunter Henry? Yes. I would sit Gadsden and play Kincaid, Waller, and Parkinson this week ahead of him. So he's not an auto start. It's not an auto sit either. I think the defense of the Chargers could be an interesting streaming start this week, in my opinion, against a Dallas offense that has kind of slowly started to taper down a little bit. So yeah, I think that could be an interesting starting option for you there too. Must starts for Dallas. Javonte Williams, he did get hurt in the game, but he did come back into the game. So he's a start this week. As long as he stays healthy, keep an eye on that. CeeDee Lamb, 100%. George Pickens, man, it's just a second back-to-back terrible week. And the first week he had a terrible week. We really blamed it on the fact that he was then the wide receiver one getting double coverage because CeeDee Lamb wasn't there anymore. And so the plot was, he just couldn't handle the pressure of being a true wide receiver one. And he's getting double teamed. He doesn't know how to get those balls like CeeDee Lamb does. Well, then what happened this week? He again just didn't get that. The targets just weren't there. It was just a difficult week. I have a really hard time sitting George Pickens, though, because his production has been absolutely insane. And again, this matchup should technically favor them a little bit. So I would have a hard time sitting him. I'm going to start him, in my opinion. I am the George Pickens manager, and he's going in my lineup. So take that as you will. Dak Prescott, not an auto sit. Not an auto start either. Conversation to be had. He had a bad week last week. Every other week before that, since the bye, he scored 20-plus point weeks. So he's been a very reliable quarterback. One off week doesn't tell me that I should immediately start to bench him. But you could look at other guys like Brissett, Dart, or Herbert ahead of Dak Prescott if you were a little bit worried for how he might look this week. Jake Ferguson, I probably would look somewhere else this week outside of Jake Ferguson. I think there's better options. Someone like Parkinson. I don't know why that just came out of my mouth weird. And then all I could think was Parkinson's disease after I said it. And I thought I said it fucking wrong.
The whole time I was watching the game, I was like, man, how sad would that be? Like, hi, Mr. Parkinson. Like, so sad.
Damn, did I just say his name wrong? Is that? No, it's literally like Parkinson's disease. Okay, so Parkinson, Pitts, I would, the only person I would probably play Fergie over is Tyler Warren, depending on the quarterback situation coming out of the Colts, because that was interesting. And I'm sitting the Dallas defense.
Interesting to say the least. All right, moving on to Kansas City versus Tennessee. So this should be a good matchup for Kansas City. Now, Kansas City lost one of its biggest weapons in Patrick Mahomes. Amanda was probably like,
I never cheer for someone's injury. Also,
no
like at first, it was so bad because at first I thought like he did get late hit, or he got hit like, late for Patrick Mahomes, that is.
Yeah. Right.
And so I was like, is he just like throwing a fit because he got hit late? And then they showed the replay and he like hyperextended his knee. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Okay. Take it back. Oopsie. Okay. So anyways, as far as guys to start, I mean, you're still going to start Rashee Rice. Yes, his productivity and targets might waver a little bit with Gardner Minshew, but Gardner Minshew has shown some sort of goodness in the past. So it's not like he's a complete rookie. We don't know what he's going to do. So you're still starting him. I think you're still going to kind of confidently start Travis Kelce this week. I think especially with Minshew, they're both kind of those shorter pass receivers and tight ends, I guess. So they're going to benefit more from Minshew there. I don't mind starting Kareem Hunt. It's a good matchup against Tennessee, the defense. If I had to pick between Pacheco or Hunt, I'm going with Kareem Hunt. I just think he's more aggressive. He's kind of like a bulldog, a bowling ball running through guys. He's used more at the goal line. You're not going to even think about picking up Minshew in place of Mahomes. There's better options out there. We talked about Rashee Rice. I mean,
Xavier Worthy is the only other person that's a full
Xavier
sit.
Worthy, right. Xavier Worthy, a full sit. With Minshew in and Mahomes out, you're full sitting Xavier Worthy. He's a deep ball guy. That's not what Minshew provides. And then as far as the defense, I would start them and pick them up if you can against Tennessee, who's just been kind of shaky all season. On the Tennessee side, I don't like anybody on the Tennessee side, which has just been a trend the entire year. So you're sitting Cam Ward. Really no options there. I'm not going to go with Eiermanner. I'm not going to go with DK. There's better wide receiver options with better matchups. I mean, if you really want to roll the dice and really risk it for the biscuit and ride the high of Tony Pollard, sure, you can keep flying high and maybe Tony Pollard's just going to finish the season out really strong. That's the only super duper risky play. Tajay Spears, I'm not thinking about either. Sitting the tight end, Okonkwo, don't like him either. Not even thinking about the defense in this matchup as well.
I agree. My next matchup is the New York Jets versus the New Orleans Saints. So we'll start with Jets. I mean, basically this entire team is a sit. This is not a lot of commentary here. You really don't want any part of it. We don't know what quarterback's going to be in action. It does matter, right? The productivity of their offense, like Brady Cooks didn't shit the bed completely. It's just, you don't really feel confident trusting him again. Saints defense is no joke, right? They are a very solid defensive unit. We watched them be a solid defensive unit last week in week 15. So I'm not excited about any of them. If for some reason Tyrod Taylor or Justin Fields did end up playing week 16, I might feel a little bit better about taking a shot on a wide receiver. It would only be Mitchell. That would only be the wide receiver I would ever waste my time on. Mechie, Williams, they're all sits for me. Mitchell would be the only risky, streamable wide receiver start if Tyrod Taylor or Justin Fields play. God, I don't feel good about Breece Hall at all. I mean, we saw Isaiah Davis split way more time. Now I'm assuming, they weren't going to win, and maybe Isaiah Davis just had the hot hand, and so they decided just to give more of the work to him in week number 15. He was more productive in week 15, right? Yeah. I'm personally going to sit them both and look elsewhere. Chase Brown, Henderson, Rico, Chris Rodriguez, or JCM, whoever plays, Tyrone Tracy, Michael Carter, would all come above Breece Hall, in my opinion. Mason Taylor, he didn't play week 15, and I don't care about him regardless. Sit. And the defense, sit. The New Orleans Saints, Chris Olave, easy start for the week. And the Saints defense is a really good week 16 start and the best week 16-17 start matchup for your playoff run. I know I picked them up. I had a bye week 15 for the playoffs. I don't care. I still put a waiver and I picked up the Saints because I'm going to try to ride them week 16 and week 17 in my playoff run. So really good defense unit to pick up and play. Obviously, Chris Olave is that guy, and you keep playing him. Ange mentioned it already. Tyler Shuck, he's a streaming quarterback option. Am I eager about that? No, because I'm always going to be a little low-level nervous of a rookie, but he led a comeback win and a late touchdown. He really has looked productive AF, and it definitely is a spark to that entire Saints team. Anytime they get an uptick like that in their quarterback, people like to rally behind him. So that's been a perk for their offense, that's for sure. Vele did end up getting hurt in week 15, so we want to watch his week 16 availability, but I do think he'd be a streaming wide receiver if he does end up starting and playing. I would play him over guys like Debo and Terry McLaurin in week 16. Neil, oh my God, the 85th running back to get hurt from the Saints, I feel like. Back up to the backup. back up to the backup. I mean, if Neil for some reason is fine, sure, you can play him, but I'm not playing anyone else in the running back position. The names
that are coming up, I'm like, who?
Audrey Estime. He's been around for a while. Yeah.
I'm like,
no. Juwan Johnson, I do think he's a great streaming back tight end, specifically too, knowing that the running back room has been just ravished with injuries. You would assume they need to get more of that pass game going, short passes to their tight end position and Juwan Johnson. So I think this is a good matchup for him. I would start him over Mark Andrews, Hunter Henry, Strange, and Hawkinson. And then, like I already mentioned, defense, good week 16 and 17 matchup for them.
All right, Minnesota, New York Giants is my next matchup. For Minnesota, Aaron Jones, great start, even better matchup for the running back than he had last week, so he should continue to do great things. And then, you have to mention Justin Jefferson, you have to mention Jordan Addison. This is another good matchup for them, but the productivity just isn't there. I don't know why. We talked about it before recording. I'm like, whoa, save it for the epi, Amanda. But it's really difficult to see guys like Jaden Naylor, who was taking the brunt of the targets. And Amanda kind of mentioned that hot hand mentality. And we've seen it in a Rico Dowdle, Chuba Hubbard situation, right? Mm-hmm. Where Chuba Hubbard had the hot hand. He did great. They kept him out there. Rico took a step back. In this case, Jaden Naylor was the guy that was catching the targets, making the plays. And then Jordan Addison and JJ McCarthy. Oh my gosh, that's too many JJs on that dang team.
Too many JJs. I
know. Justin Jefferson were really taking a back seat. And Jefferson just had drops that. Now, there were some throws that were hard, and he could make those catches, right? So he makes those. We don't have this conversation, but you have to keep trusting him. He's too elite. His ceiling is so freaking high, but his floor is very low. So he's around that 4 or 5 point total over the last probably 4 or 5 weeks. So it's a little disappointing if you have him on your team. If you made it this far with him, ride it out with them unless you just can't take it anymore. And you're like, well, I need to change up at this point. That's really a trust your gut situation. Other guys here, you're going to sit a TJ Hawkinson, and I forgot to mention Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason is just a full handcuff at this point to Aaron Jones, so you're sitting him. TJ Hawkinson, you're sitting, even though he's getting the targets from Justin Jefferson. Oh my gosh, I did it again.
From TJ.
Oh my gosh, didn't even catch it. But I don't like him. There's better options. This is a tougher matchup. And then go with the Minnesota Vikings defense against this New York Giants offense. It's a great start. On the Giants side of the ball, not too many guys that are really must starts for me. Only guy I would say would be a Wan'Dale Robinson, just because he's the target for Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart has a very tough matchup. I would not play him here. I would play kind of a number of guys over him. I would maybe go with JJ McCarthy over him. He's been a little bit more productive. This is a really, really stellar matchup. We talked about it earlier in the season that JJ has that easier schedule moving forward. I mentioned Wan'Dale Robinson. I'm going to full sit Darius Slayton. Nothing really great there. Yes, he kind of has that big boom playability, but a tougher matchup for the quarterback, so I don't like it. The only guy I'm going to take a risk on is Tyrone Tracy. If you really are in need of a flex play for a running back or you have no other options, he's not, in my opinion, going to goose you. You're sitting Devin Singletary. Theo Johnson, again, is not the best option this week at the tight end position like he has been in the past. I would even go with someone like a Brenton Strange over him this week. I would take a shot on a Jawan Johnson this week, a little bit more reliable. The defense for the Giants, also a sit.
All right, moving on to my next matchup here.
Once I like the deep radio voice, like, all right.
All righty then.
All right.
Let's get into Tampa Bay versus Carolina.
Ooh.
All right. Tampa Bay is our first matchup here. My only clear must start from Tampa Bay is Bucky Irving. This is a good matchup for him, and I'm going to go ahead and throw him in my lineup. Now, I feel a little bit different about Baker Mayfield than Ange had mentioned earlier in the episode. To me, Baker has all of his weapons back. I'm going to trust my gut and throw him in my lineup. Now, he is dealing with probably a slew of injuries, but we talked about how last week we were nervous about him. He still dropped 20 points. And we saw clearly that when Mike Evans is on the field, Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback. Mike Evans can just make the catches that Emeka Egbuka just cannot make to that that level just yet. Now, Emeka Egbuka is a rookie, so we get this, right? Mike Evans has been around the block. So with every single one of his weapons back, I really like Baker Mayfield. Now, could you start like a Bo Nix, a Jordan Love, a Brissett ahead of him? Absolutely. Those are definitely guys you could start, but I'm probably not going to go deep into the depths of worry and go like Tyler Shuck over Baker Mayfield, in my opinion. I think Baker Mayfield is a confident quarterback you can trust on. I think Mike Evans is a start. Throw him in your freaking lineup. Trust your gut with it. They said they were going to slowly ease him back in, and then he had 19 fucking fantasy points. I was like, slow my ass. That man was getting pummeled. He did a full backflip in the air and landed. Absolutely injured his back and was just like,
there he
throw
goes.
me back
he's
in,
going down again.
I was like,
He's
this
like,
man
I'm
who
not
made
sitting out anymore this season.
I'm playing. And they are in a must-win situation right now, so they do need to start to rack up the wins. So that does make me excited about a team.
So next matchup, New England versus Baltimore. On the New England side, you're confidently starting Drake May. You're confidently starting Travion Henderson. Wide receivers get a little bit dicey. Only guy I think I trust out of the three of Mac Hollins, which did you see him walk into the game, no shirt, no shoes? Like, come on, man. Cuckoo
that's
for
his, like,
Puffs.
That's his shtick, though. He has to ground
just
himself.
Committed to the bit. It's weird. So he popped off this week. He had the big game. I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe he was very grounded and he's not going to be. But if I had to pick between the three, I would go with Stephon Diggs. Then I would go with Booty. Then I would go with Hollins. That's how it would go. As far as Ramondre Stevenson goes, he's being weaned out, but I don't think he's a bad flex option. I think they're still going to use him. This is a pretty easy matchup against Baltimore, so he has opportunities to have more of a role. Hunter Henry's a full sit for me. This is a really difficult matchup against the Baltimore defense, against tight ends. Jawan Johnson is a better choice than him. Trying to think any other obscuros that are kind of in that same realm, but
I mean, even obscure for just this week, like a Colby Parkinson, you could also start ahead of him, like because you're going to be able to pull him off of waivers.
Yes, exactly.
Dalton Schultz would be another good start this week.
Okay. And then as far as defense goes for the New England Patriots, they could be a streaming option, but kind of in conjecture with the Tampa Bay, there's better ones out there. Not great. On the Baltimore side, it's kind of been up in the air with this damn Baltimore Ravens offense, but I think you still got to go with Lamar. You got to still trust in Derrick Henry. And I am probably the biggest Zay Flowers hater every week. No Zay Flowers. And every week I text Amanda, can you believe freaking Zay Flowers? So I'm going to say Zay Flowers is a good start this week. I would trust him. I think he's the guy that they're looking for. He's moving the offense. Andrews was probably more a reliable option for Lamar Jackson. That's kind of not happening anymore. As far as the tight end positions, I'm not starting either of them. I don't like either of them. This is a good matchup. I just don't trust it. I would rather take a shot on a Brenton Strange. I would rather take a shot on a Jawan Johnson and kind of confidently start Travis Kelce in this situation, even with a different quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. And then the defense for the Baltimore Ravens, I'm sitting.
Okay, two things. Number one, I just saw a report on Sleeper that Mike McDaniels on if he's considering a quarterback change. The quarterback play last night was not good enough, so everything is on the table. I'm just saying. Who knows? Who knows what Miami's going to pull out?
Why did that happen earlier when my man was just tanking and they were like, nope, we're sticking with Tua.
Who knows? But just something to keep your eye on, my friends. All right. So I made a bet this week because I like to bet on football. Okay. And I called it my butt bet. Okay.
Yeah. Wait, I was named it?
Yes, me and Drew named it that. Because I was having GI issues. And now you understand what type of GI issues I was having. So I bet on all players that were adjacent to what you would expect to have GI issues with. So I bet on Kayshon Boutte. I bet on Chase Brown. I bet on AJ Brown. I bet on Lamar Jackson because one time apparently he pooed himself while playing football.
Never thought this is the way it was going.
This is how it was going. So I bet on, it was like a 6-leg parlay, all with poop adjacent players.
That is epic.
Let me tell you, everything hit except fucking Kayshon Boutte. I bet $20 it was going to pay me out. Well, Boutte scored. Well, I needed 40 yards from Boutte. He had 30. And everything else hit. And I would have it was a $20 bet. I would have made like $560.
Oh, that would have been so good for the butt. Oh,
it was my butt bet.
That's freaking epic. I love it.
I knew you would enjoy that. It was a way to like make myself feel better about the insane discomfort I was in for like 8 days.
I love it.
All right, moving on to the next matchup with side commentary, Jacksonville versus the Denver Broncos. So the only must start for Jacksonville is Travis Etienne because this is going to be a difficult matchup for Jacksonville coming off of a hot week. I do not expect that to happen this week, which leads me to Trevor Lawrence being a sit. He's a sit because this is a good defensive matchup for him. I don't expect his production to be like it was last week. I think you have far better options out there. Guys like Bo Nix, Jordan Love, Brissett, Goff, Stafford, Dart, McCarthy, I would all start ahead of Trevor Lawrence this week. With the wide receiver position, it's very hard because who is Surtain going to cover? I'm not sure if he's going to cover Jacoby Myers or BTJ. Who's more of a threat in their eyes? I really do not know. I think both of these wide receivers can be started. I think you have to tape your expectations with both of them based on the fact of we just don't know who Surtain's going to focus his attention on. All of the Denver Broncos defense is good at protecting the pass game. They've always been very good at that. So I think both of them are risky, but I also think both of them can be starts. I have a hard time sitting Jacoby Myers because he's been used so much in that offense. I would probably say start both of them. I would predict that maybe BTJ has a better game though, but that's just me predicting something that might not happen. Tootin, Boot Scootin' Tootin. I almost betted on him, but then I didn't. Boot Scootin' Tootin is a sit. And then
I think he also had surgery on his finger, so
he might be out. Okay, cool. Then definitely don't play him. And then Brenton Strange, to me, he's just been lackluster. He hasn't been getting the targets that we thought he would be getting. They have more wide receiver options now outside of when, BTJ was hurt. I think they were relying on Strange a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say you have better favorable matchups outside of Strange. I'd probably look to pivot away from him. It is a good matchup for him, though. So it kind of depends on what you want to take a risk on and who else you got out there on free agency.
Maybe what the Surtain situation looks like could be something to think about.
Correct. Exactly. Defense, sit. Denver Broncos. I'm going to start Cortland Sutton. I'm going to start Troy Franklin. And
what the hell was that about?
I know. That surprise appearance of Troy Franklin. He's going to be scary because he had that midseason slowdown. He was coming out and basically the wide receiver one. Yes. And everyone was like, fuck Sutton. And they were all in on Troy Franklin. And then it was now Troy Franklin's back again. I don't know. I think both of them are good starts this week. I also think Bo Nix is a solid streaming quarterback. He popped off a difficult defense last week. Basically, I was in my head where the fuck has this been all year, Bo? Because if you can play like this, you guys can win. RJ Harvey, watch his health. He did get hurt week 15. Not sure what his week 16 availability is going to be. If RJ Harvey doesn't play, this is a good defense or a good defensive matchup against the run. I'm not overly excited about starting RJ Harvey's backup. RJ Harvey, I think if he plays.
Oh, Jaleel McLaughlin. You know where he went to school?
Oh, no, I don't.
YSU.
Youngstown State.
I know. It's so fun.
A local homie. I'm probably not going to start him. Nonetheless, if RJ Harvey does play, I would go ahead and play RJ Harvey. Evan Ingram is a full sit, and the Denver Broncos, I think, would be a streaming defensive option for you. Not that there's a lot of weapons on the Jaguars offense, so like makes you a little nervous, but I think they can get to the quarterback and prevent some of that pass game to happen.
Okay. All right. My next game, Atlanta versus Arizona. Ooh, this could be a stinky poo-poo match. Just need a butt bet again. I just can't stop thinking about how funny that is. Okay, so as far as starts, you are must starting Bijan always. I think Kyle Pitts is another must start if Drake London is out again, which I don't know why they would rush him back. There's really no reason to, but there's kind of word that he could return for week 16.
Well, I lost in that league, so Drake, I don't need you anymore. I don't need you.
Drake,
stay
out,
sit
on the bench, buddy. Anyway, so if he's out again, smelly Pity Pitts gonna smell real good again, similar to last week. And then, you're sitting Kirk Cousins. Don't like that. I don't really like Darnell Mooney. I'm sitting him. Not the greatest matchup for wide receivers. If London's back, also downgrades him. Pitts is clearly Kirk Cousins' guy. So that's who he's going to look at. Tyler Algier, yes, this is a good matchup for the running back, but he, again, is just that handcuff position. He might take a shot at the goal line, snipe a couple tutties, but that's all he's going to really be there for. And I like starting the Falcons defense this week against a really weak Arizona offense. Don't mind it one bit. On the Arizona side, you are always, from now on, ladies, starting the big old donk, Jacoby Brissett himself. I was so pro, do not start him, stay far away with him with a 69 million foot pole, but he did good against Houston and it shocked me.
Yeah, if Michael Carter time stuff really helped him, they were really
and
just
that's fantasy, we want to
don't give a fuck about garbage time.
We want to about that freaking grotesque garbage. But we're still kind of seeing, is Marv going to be back? Is he going to still stay out? Is he going to be back at all? I don't know. It could just at least even be through your fantasy football playoff season. Marv might be in or maybe out. So Michael Carter, he's just really, really dominant. Even if Marv is back, Michael Carter should still be started
Michael
for
Wilson.
you.
Michael Wilson.
Oh my gosh, Michael Wilson. I'm moving too far ahead to the Michael Carter situation. Michael Wilson, even if Marv is back. Great guy. And then you're always starting Trey McBride. I mean, I thought he was going to beat the Kyle Pitts points, and I can't believe he didn't. As far as running backs go, so now with Bam Knight out with injury, not going to be back, you have Michael Carter, you have Amari DiMercato. I personally go and lean toward the Michael Carter situation. I think he is going to be that lead guy. Yes, DiMercato is involved in that pass game and could be kind of explosive in certain ways. I'd rather him. Now, this is a bold statement. I would rather trust a Michael Carter than an Ashton Genty this week. I don't like Ashton Genty this week. I'm going to go with Carter over Breece Hall. I'm going to go Carter over Kenneth Walker for sure. And then the defense for the Arizona Cardinals, sitting them.
All right, next up, Pittsburgh versus the Detroit Lions. This is an interesting matchup because it's a very important game for both of them. They're both in must-win situations to continue to make their way into the playoff positions and make their way into playoffs without having to rely on the wild card, all of that good stuff. So this should be a good matchup. So we're going to start with Pittsburgh. What we know about the Detroit defense is that they are a pass funnel defense. They stop the run, they allow points to the pass game. You would assume that means good things for DK Metcalf. So DK Metcalf is a must start. It just absolutely fucking baffles me why homie got 3 motherfucking targets. What the fuck? All you can think about is they were absolutely just manhandling Miami. The defenses won that game, and so they just didn't have to worry about it that much. Use the gigantic man of DK Metcalf.
Right.
Does someone need to give Aaron Rodgers some fucking candy and make him eat? I don't know what needs to happen, but
give him some candy, give him some nerd gummies, and pop him in, and then just
we can get him some fucking dye-free shit if he's worried about the goddamn red 40. Okay?
Oh my god, red 40.
Oh my god, we can do what we freaking need to do. Nonetheless, I'm sitting Aaron Rodgers. It's a no for me. There's no other wide receivers I'm going to be trusting outside of DK Metcalf. Warren and Gainwell. I mean, they really are showing us that they're more of a hot hand running back room right now, meaning like they used to preference Warren. Warren was the guy. Now they're preferencing whoever is being more dominant. Gainwell has been more dominant. I think he had like 6 receptions in this game, which is unreal for a running back and really good for PPR leagues. It's a toss-up. Do I really like either of them with a very difficult Detroit defense? No. If I had to start one of them at this point, Warren's probably going to be riskier than Kenneth Gainwell, which is crazy to say out loud. So in my opinion, if I could sit both, I'm sitting both, but I am going to start both of them over like Pollard, Corum, Monty, Hunt. I think the only person you could maybe consider giving a start to is Stevenson in that like realm, just because Stevenson and Henderson, they play a very different style of running back in that offense. Stevenson is the boom guy. Henderson is the skill guy, right? So very different positions. So like maybe if you trust that he's going to be able to move that ball forward and get you some more points. But I'm going to play guys like Rico, Michael Carter, or Marion Hampton, Tyrone Tracy, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift, all ahead of Jaylen Warren or Kenneth Gainwell. Tight ends, there's just too many of them. You're always going to play roulette and try to guess. If you feel good about it, go for it. But I wouldn't trust any of them. And the Pittsburgh defense, to me, that's a sit. There's just too many Detroit weapons for me to trust that at all. And I don't know if TJ Watt, did he play last night?
No.
After the lung puncture situation?
After the lung puncture, no, he did not play.
Okay. So I doubt, I mean, maybe he'll be back, but that would be your only hope is that you get a lot of quarterback sacks out of him, but who knows? Detroit, you're starting Jahmyr Gibbs, you're starting Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're starting Jameson Williams. If you held out on Jameson Williams, it could potentially have been Oh, Jesus Christ.
God, but if you held out,
I know. If you held out and trusted Jamo Williams, I mean, good on you because he is just an end of the year league winner at this point. So love that for you. Quarterback wise and Jared Goff, I don't think he's an auto set. He's also not an auto start. Definitely that streaming quarterback option. I think he has a lot of high upside. And so to me, you probably throw him into your lineup because he's probably your best quarterback option at this point. David Montgomery's a sit. I think you have better options out there. I would start, I already said it. I would start Warren or Gainwell ahead of Montgomery, in my opinion. Defense, the Lions are also probably a sit for me. Unless you're very intrigued by maybe the pressure they can add to Aaron Rodgers, they might be a low-level streaming start, but I think you might have better favorable matchup upsides out there.
Next matchup for me, Las Vegas versus Houston. Oh boy, this is going to be a bloodbath. Only guy I'm going to say, and you got to taper your expectations a little bit here, would be Brock Bowers. Houston's tough on the tight end, but we did see Trey McBride put up a really big game against them. So that gives me a lot more hope because of the eliteness, if that's a word, of Brock Bowers going into week 16. You're sitting Kenny Pickett. All wide receivers for Las Vegas. I don't like any of them. So Lockett, Besh, Tucker, you sit them all. And then as far as Genty, I mean, you might not have any better option, right? You might have drafted him. He might be your RB1. You might think, I don't know what the hell else to do, but I do not like him. He's just been a little bit shaky. The offense is just really gross. So Kenny Pickett versus the Houston defense does not equal anything good. I would go with other options over Genty this week. I think I mentioned one earlier, like a Michael Carter over Genty even. You're really, scraping for the barrel. You're looking for someone off of waivers or even scoop someone up off of free agency.
Yeah, I mean, if it's JCM with a good matchup over Genty.
That was my next
option. Take an acid and do it, baby.
For sure. And then I'm sitting that the Las Vegas defense against Houston. On the Houston side, Nico Collins, Woody Marks, if he's healthy, which it looks like. Yes, he's day-to-day, but it looks like he'll be just fine. They said he was able to come back in the game, but they were just blowing him out, so that wasn't going to happen. An easy defense against both positions. I am going to sit CJ Stroud. I would, sit him over Bo Nix, Justin Herbert even. I think I would trust over CJ Stroud. Vegas does apply a good amount of pressure to the quarterback. I'm going to sit other wide receivers for Houston as well. So Jaden Higgins, who's been doing pretty good things, but just not really there yet. And then Hutchinson as well. Better options, better matchups for the wide receiver. I don't necessarily love Dalton Schultz this week. He might be better later in the season, and he's been doing some good things throughout the season. This is a tougher matchup against the tight end position. But he is maybe that secondary pass catcher for CJ Stroud, kind of the more comfort blanket for him. But I would go with another option, maybe a Juwan Johnson this week. I wouldn't go as far as like a Colby Parkinson. I would start Dalton Schultz over him. But I think just a player with a little bit better of a matchup. And then you're obviously starting the Houston defense against this Las Vegas poo-poo offense.
All right. My final matchup is the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Miami Dolphins. Absolutely worthless game because there's no playoff implications for either of them. But now we don't know who's going to be the quarterback for Miami, so that'll be interesting. But nonetheless, let's get into all of this. So must-starts for Cincinnati, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown. Like, you're just going to fire them all into your lineup and hope for the best. Again, they are facing a weak Miami defense, so like I'm not worried about any of those guys. I mean, Joey B is down bad. Like, Joey B is down bad. Yes, he's depressed with a capital D. Like, he's on national television basically saying, like, I'm not having fun anymore.
No.
And like why am I doing
what I
this if
do?
I'm not? Yes. Yeah. And then like after this next loss, he literally said, I couldn't have beat any team in the NFL with any weapons. Like, it was my fault. I played so bad. And I'm just like, oh, poor baby Joey B. It's unfortunate. So like, there's two different ways this is going to go. Either that depression is going to carry him because like we know firsthand how your mood affects your output. If you are not feeling it, there's no way around it. Even though you're a professional football player, you can't outwork sometimes that mental capacity of just not fully being present in the game. Or you're going to get a mad Joey B, an angry, a fired up, I'm here to prove shit. Because like at the end of the day, you're getting paid multi-million dollars. Like, you do need to shut up and show up. Like, at some point, unfortunately, that's the nature of the game. These are professionals. So like, you'd think he'd kind of get himself together this week. I don't think Joey B is a clear sit. It's just risky. I mean, they scored 0 points last week. It's very hard. Now they're playing Miami, easier defense.
Should be in their favor.
Should be in their favor, yeah. But he's a scary start. I'll say that.
Yeah, you just but really pray you get the mad Joey Burrow.
yeah. I still going to call him a start, but he's a scary start. There's too many tight ends to trust, so I'm not worried about any of them. And I'm sitting the Cincinnati defense. Moving to Miami, there's 2 must-start players: Devon Achane, Darren Waller. Now, Cincinnati is historically terrible against the tight end position, except maybe last week when Baltimore didn't throw to their tight end at all. Like, that should have been your dream tight end matchup. Both of those tight ends should have produced amazing, and they didn't, which was very odd. But you would expect to see Darren Waller, who did have 2 tutties last week, be a very focal point of the offense again this week. So I'm going to call both of them must-starts. Streaming start, Tua was a streaming starting quarterback for me. Now maybe he's not anymore. It's a good matchup. But keep your eye on that because I'm not sure. You're probably not in a position where you need to go to the depths of Tua Tagovailoa, though. Waddle. I mean, my God. They didn't have to pass the ball. Like, it was just a weird game. They were getting their ass kicked. They couldn't get the pass game going except to Waller, who could score 2 touchdowns. He just didn't do anything. He had 2 receptions on the night. It was a disappointing game. He's always going to be a starting option. This is a really good matchup for the wide receiver. So we should be like jumping for joy at this opportunity. And it's unfortunate that we're not. I'm probably going to call him a start, but I'm really only going to consider starting him over guys in like a true wide receiver 2 position. So I would start him over like all of the New York Jets wide receivers. I would probably start him over the, oh God, name left me. I would start him over Booty. I would start him over Alec Pierce. Just because I think there is potential for them to get that shit together, and they know that they need it. In order for them to win games, they can't have that happen. So I'm going to call Waddle a start. Just again, a wide receiver 2, not your like badass wide receiver 1 production. And I'm going to sit the Miami defense.
My last matchup is San Francisco versus the Indianapolis Colts. San Francisco, you're starting CMC, you're starting George Kittle. They are very powerful players. Brock Purdy is a definite start, for you this week if you are in need of a quarterback. So a Mahomes situation, Brock Purdy can step right in. This is a really good matchup. He didn't play bad at all last week. Has an easier matchup against the quarterback position this week. I would start him over Dak. I would start him over Jackson Dart this week. When it comes to wide receivers, we have Juwan Jennings. We have Ricky Pearsall. And just when we thought Ricky Pearsall was going to be back, poor Ricky Pearsall got hurt again. So fragile little Ricky Pearsall is probably dealing with an injury. So I don't think he's going to be relevant in week number 16. Juwan Jennings, I mean, you could take a chance on him. This is a better matchup for him. He is kind of that other really main wide receiver that they look for. But I believe that you have better options. You could go with Jordan Addison is a much better option, even with a little bit of a shaky quarterback situation. And then that's everybody. Did I talk? Yeah, I talked about CMC. I feel like I forgot somebody, but I didn't. And then I would really start the San Francisco defense against the Indianapolis Colts with Old Man Rivers, right? Who probably likely will be quarterback again, which will probably change because he wasn't that great, but he wasn't. I mean, that was probably as productive as a 44-year-old man could probably be, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
he just the waffle. The balls were so waffly. Like when you watched him, I mean, he just
because he's thrown in the backyard with his 25-year-old son.
You could tell that he was putting everything he had behind those throws, and that's as far as they could fucking go.
This is probably him on Monday.
Yes. Like he was throwing at his full capacity, and they cannot get the ball down. No. My thing is, I'm sitting there thinking, Riley Leonard, yes, he was hurt, but do you think he could have played? And I guarantee Philip Rivers said, if I'm going to get activated, I'm not going to be a backup. I'm playing.
No, I bet so too.
If you didn't know, he was getting inducted or an option to get inducted to the Hall of Fame. And now he has to wait 5 more years. So you have to wait 5 years after you're done playing in the NFL to get fully put in for a bid to the Hall of Fame. He made it past the first clearing and he was in the rounds to be fully inducted. Well, once you get reactivated, you have to wait another 5 years. So I guarantee he was like, listen, I'm in. But if I'm going to wait another 5 years to get inducted potentially to the Hall of Fame, I'm playing. And so it was probably a clause he made, I would assume.
Interesting. Okay. A Hall of Fame clause. All right. So the only guy you're trusting here is Jonathan Taylor. I think everyone was very nervous. What is Jonathan Taylor going to be like with Philip Rivers in? And he did just fine. You're queuing him up again for this week. No to Philip Rivers. I won't even go with Riley Leonard this week either. If he's the one who's in, you're sitting both of them. Wide receivers have all taken a hit. Pittman, Pierce, who else? Josh Downs with that weird ass rogue touchdown. Like, what the hell was that? Right. But all of the guys are sits for me because of the quarterback situation. Tyler Warren is also a sit for me, which is really sad because he was being so productive and he was such a great rookie tight end and just has taken a hit because of the quarterback. And then obviously you're going to sit the defense. I don't like them against San Fran this week either.
All right. Well, that's all the matchups for week number 16.
Really
we're deep in the year.
On that.
I know. There. We're deep in the year. Shit is weird. Teams that were must starts are now must sits. It's an interesting time of the year. But let's finish the episode off with our sweet and spicy starts of the week. Who is your sweet start of the week, Ange?
Sweet start of the week is Amarian Hampton. He's been weaned back into that offense. This week they face Dallas. He's going to be a stud this week. They're going to full force put him in. He's going to show his stuff. He's going to make everybody so happy that they waited out the IR stint.
I love it. It sounds like you may have Amarian Hampton.
I do.
All right. My sweet start of the week is Darren Waller facing the Cincinnati Bengals, who single-handedly give up the most points to the tight end position. We saw him finally get geared back into that offense. So I'm going to say Tyler Warren. Lock Darren Waller into your lineup and feel good about it. How about your spicy start of the week?
My spicy start is Tyler Shuck this week. He's heating up. He is really an aggressive kind of tough quarterback, and we've seen that. Now he is old. Maybe he's older than most Philip Rivers, or younger probably than Philip Rivers' children, but he is showing his stuff. He's going to continue that. This is a really good matchup for them this week against the Jets. He's going to roll into this week, continuing to dominate. So if you need a really shaky, risk it for the biscuit spot start, I think we both got you covered here. Who is your spicy start?
Yep, mine's also a quarterback in Bryce Young himself. Again, he's kind of been a very not trustable quarterback. He's had great games. He's had really, really shitty games. This matchup does favor him. They are in the playoff hunt. They're coming off of a tough loss where they thought they probably had that locked up, but then Tyler Shuck said, hold my beer, and ended up beating their asses. So I think Bryce Young is an interesting start to the week. It was a little bit of a comeback week to be able to still hopefully make their way into the playoffs. All right, friends. Well, that's all we got for week 16. We've got 2 more weeks here before we finally wrap up. We are happy to be with you through all the ups, downs, the good and the bad. And we're wishing you all good vibes for the semifinals of playoffs. And we'll talk to you all championship week. See you guys.
See you then.